This is Jared Weiss from Brad Stevens' press conference as the Celtics introduced the 18th coach in franchise history in pursuit, of course, of the 18th title. They even have 18, 18, 18 all over the scoreboard here in the practice facility, but it was just an incredible day, incredible welcoming for Brad Stevens. He came across immediately to reporters, to the organization, as an incredibly bright guy with a great personality that seems to really be built for developing himself as a great coach. Stevens wanted to really emphasize, and I think this was something that Ainge really emphasized, is that he's not going to be a dominant personality. He's going to be humble. He's going to be in control of his emotions. He's going to be the kind of guy that leads rather than bosses around. Ainge made it very clear that it was the kind of humbleness, nobility, and kind of controlled personality that kind of attracted the Celtics organization, the owners, the president, Rich Gotham, and Danny himself, to Stevens. And amazingly, when they actually went to meet with Stevens and actually try to get him to sign the contract, Steve Pagliuca, the owner of the Celtics, actually joked that Danny should just stay behind and not even go back with him to Boston until he actually got the contract signed. And that's a 6-year deal. Danny Ainge, pretty much the entire organization, said that they've never really heard of a deal that long for the coach, especially a new coach, someone that doesn't have any NBA experience. But Stevens isn't really concerned about making the transition.
And you answer the phone, and he wants you to be the next head coach of the Celtics. What was your first reaction?
Well, first of all, the Boston Celtics, like, wow. I mean, that is an incredible feeling. It's an incredible honor, and it's certainly flattering. And then you realize as you go through the process that it's really been built, as any great organization has. And again, it's from all the people that I've met and all the people that I've talked to, on the people and on the values and on the culture. And you know, I was reading the Russell's Rules, Bill Russell's book, on the way up or the way over yesterday, and so many similarities to what we've tried to incorporate into our program at Butler. And it was really a foundation set long before I got there too. And so I'm thrilled and honored to be entrusted with the opportunity to just add to. And one of the things that I am so thrilled about is the opportunity to work in a place that has such a high standards, but also has places such a value on culture. And it's really important. I'm a process-driven guy. I'm a day-by-day guy. I believe in relationships. I believe in trying to be the very best that you can be. And that is clearly something that has been stressed in every single conversation I've had with everyone here, starting with those multiple phone conversations with Danny. I'm not one of these guys that is crazy enough to think that I'm here because of me. I'm here because I fooled a couple of these guys, and because we've had great people on our bus all the way through, and I'm looking forward to working with the great people here.
I got a really nice text from Coach Pitino, and he was terrific, and he thought it was a great situation, a great opportunity, and he couldn't say more good words about the city of Boston. Well, I think one of the things that and I don't look at it necessarily as sales, but the players will know that there's a genuine investment in them, both from an hours standpoint and from just a personal interest standpoint. And they'll also be told early on that, hey, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, and that's part of it. And know that I'm going to do everything I can to correct that within the quickest amount of time, and we'll go from there. But I think that whether that's sales or whether that's just getting people on board, I've always really enjoyed working with and would run through the wall for people I liked. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but for the people that really had a vested interest in me.
So we'll see how good or bad advice from Rick Pitino could end up being for him, but certainly it's a good city for him to get started as a coach, and he comes in a major transition period, and Danny Ainge had a lot to say about what kind of situation that he'll find himself in.
The last 10 days I've had a lot of conversations with Brad, and I'm very confident that he can sell, and that he can sell anybody. We're investing in a guy because he has great integrity, great character, great work ethic, great intellect, and with the understanding that he hasn't experienced the NBA yet, we'll surround him with people that have experienced the NBA. He's a great communicator, and I don't think there will be an adjustment period, but I think he'll do great with the players. I think the players will believe him and will believe in him, and will believe that he does believe in them.
When you talk about selling players, what makes you believe that Rondo is going to buy into what Brad is about? Just get the elephant out of the way right away.
Well, I don't think it's an elephant. I mean, I think Brad and Rondo will get along great. I think Brad is, like I said, a great communicator, and Rajon is a brilliant basketball player, and I think they'll see eye to eye. But, we always talk about Rajon as there's some sort of, like you call him, the elephant in the room. Rajon has been our best player for the last few years, and is a reason why we've had so much success at times in the playoffs. And I think the communication will be a key between those two, and I think that Brad, maybe being a new coach in the NBA, will need to rely on Rondo for input, strategy, and get his feedback.
Well, I think one of the things that I can't wait to sit down with him, and I said that up there, because he's not only a really good basketball player, he's really intelligent, and you can see that in his game. And I think he's got not only an intelligence about the way he plays, but also just an instinctive ability to see the next play coming. And you can see that on both ends of the floor. Combine that with a good competitive spirit, and you've really got what he's been. And that's a really, really good player, one of the best players in this league. And so I can't wait to meet him. I mean, I can't wait to spend time with him. And I hope that he can feel like at the end of the day he's learned a thing or two from me, but I'm guessing I'll learn a lot more from him.
He does have a reputation for being a little bit difficult at times. Is that something that you try to not pay attention to, kind of clean slate stuff?
Not worried about reputation. I've heard a lot of things about a lot of people over the course of time, and then you sit down with them and everything clicks, and I can't wait to meet him. Well, Avery came by today. It was great to meet him. It was great to see him. What a nice person he is. I'm looking forward. He's a very good player. Looking forward to coaching him. And I text or called, I believe, everybody. And I heard back from everybody, and they were great. Like Jeff called right back, and Jared, who got right back to me. Jared's he's a Buckeye who played for my former boss, Thad Matta, and one of my assistant coaches, Brandon Miller at Butler. So there's a lot of ties there. I watched Jared play in open gyms. I've seen a lot of these guys play as they were growing up, and even know, Courtney Lee's an Indianapolis kid. He grew up about 5 minutes away. So there's a lot of connections there and ties there, and the response from them has really been kind, and really good. So I'm looking forward to working with them.
One of the fascinating stories here is that Stephen's wife is also his agent, and so she talked about the negotiations between Danny Ainge and Mike Zarin and himself.
And Tracy as well, and mentioned that she is my attorney, and for those of you who haven't heard me say this before, I'm the only coach in the country that pays 100% to his agent. So that's the way that works and has always worked.
But I think your wife and mom, first and foremost above anything else, we actually made the decision before we really negotiated. The negotiation, contrary to what they said, was not a difficult negotiation. So.
What is it like being an agent for your husband?
It's very efficient because it was a case of him saying, hey, here's a contract, I need you to look at it right now. I was sitting next to him, I said, okay, let's look at it, let's talk about these things. And so we're very fast in that process. So I was right next to him, that was easy to do.
How has Brad soaked up everything that's happened in the past few days?
I'm not sure he has yet, and he will over time, but I can say he had the computer out this morning watching film, and that was probably the biggest smile I've seen on his face throughout this process, because he realized this is the level he gets to coach at, and he gets to coach with these amazing players and against these amazing players, and I know he's really intellectually excited to do that. He's a very humble person, so that's actually not that hard to do. I do have to tell him, hey, you still have to put dishes in the dishwasher, but besides that, he's actually pretty easy to manage in that regard.
One of the things that's really been talked about with Stevens is his use of advanced analytics. In the college game, there isn't quite the incredible amount of resources that the NBA level has. The Celtics are one of the teams in the league, about half of the league has this, that has the Stats Inc. Sports View system, which utilizes cameras around the stadium to actually track player movement, and it gives an incredible amount of data for player movement. It'll be really fascinating to see how exactly he utilizes that information, because that's the kind of information that Stevens hasn't really been able to use in his own practical use for his own team. So Stevens talked about the use of advanced stuff after the press conference.
And far the athletics go, I certainly am thrilled and excited about all of the information that we have at our, that we have to grab. And I've never really had that before. We have a mountain full of information. The key is, in coaching, is to whittling it down to what can help you prepare, and then what can be applied on the court without overdoing it. I mean, it's a simple game in a lot of ways, and playing with a clear mind is important. I think being able to communicate it is important. I'm a numbers guy by trade, so it's not like or just the way I was born. It's not like I was I embraced some statistical revolution. It's just kind of the way my mind works, and so I always found some motivation in numbers at different times.
So this would be my take on it. Okay. I think that's blown out of proportion, and I think that it's blown out of proportion in sort of the world today. He's a smart guy, and he'll use any information, but I felt like him and I see things pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. It's important to have statistics. It's important to look at all the information that you can gather, but it doesn't replace good old-fashioned basketball and what your eyes are telling you. And so he's not a statistic fanatic. But he values all the information he can get.
Well, that does it for us here. We'll check back with you soon as free agency goes into full bloom, and the Celtics are surely about to make some more roster moves. For Celtics Blog and CLNS Radio, my name is Jared Weiss. This is the Garden Report from Brad Stevens' introductory press conference.